Recording. If you haven't yet, make sure you do put your full name into the chat for attendance. Don't forget to do that. And just like we start most weeks, we're going to go ahead and do the pre-assessment for week 9. So that folder should be open and ready for you in Schoology. I am going to pull it up also so that we can see it. And we're going to go into our week 9 folder and begin our pre-assessment. So if you go to courses, you want to make sure you go to Math Skills 4 and you go down to the red folder. The only red folder in the course is going to be week 9, Intro to Graphing. And you want to do the second thing that's listed in the folder, which is the Intro to Graphing pre-assessment. All right. So that's what you guys are working on right now. And after you guys are done with that, we'll go over some announcements, do that quick warm up, and review our midterm before we get into our notes for this week. All right, so go ahead and work on that. All right, so you guys can continue wrapping up your pre-assessment. I'm just gonna go over the announcements for this week, and then we're gonna complete their midterm review and get started for today. So go ahead and continue to work on your pre-assessment if you're still doing that while I go over these announcements for this week. All right, so let's get into it. So today there is a town hall at 1 p.m. The link for the town hall is in the homeroom. So the Ward 8 daytime homeroom. You guys can find the link to the town hall there. If you can't attend, make sure you send questions or things that you're concerned about to Miss Koya. Right, her email is koya@aohdc.org. All right, so you can send her that email if you need to. If you can't make it, it is at 1 p.m. So that means that you guys are not going to be responsible for any afternoon work today. As long as you do the morning work, you will get attendance for today. Okay. So make sure you guys do attend the town hall. The link was sent to your email and also it's available in the Ward 8 daytime homeroom, and I can show you all how to get there as well, just in case you need the reminder. So you're going to go to your courses and you're going to look for the Ward 8 daytime homeroom course. And then, oops, excuse me, went too far. And then right there at the top of the homeroom, there is a link to the town hall, right? You just click that link right there and you can get into the town hall at 1 p.m. today. Okay. What else? All right. If I keep going here. On-site tech clinics are still going on. They will be going on until this Wednesday, December 2nd. That's going to be the last day. That is the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. That's going to be the last day for the on-site tech clinic. So if you're having issues with your laptop or any AOH device and you can't get help over the phone, you can go in person from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays. If you have any questions about your schedule, classes, or really anything in general, make sure you're calling this number 202-289-6623, and you're putting in extension 128. I'm also going to put it in the chat for those of you who need it. Right, and the idea is that you just leave your name, your phone number, and your reason for calling, and hopefully somebody will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. Always make sure that you're checking your AOH emails regularly. Your AOH email is where you will get most of your updates and anything that we need to share with you. All right, and the trivia will post in the homeroom class on Tuesday this week. So make sure you're checking in for that. And last week's winners were Lucretia Jones and Karen Watkins. So congrats, Lucretia, who of course is in this class. All right. One more thing I need to share with you about the homeroom class that I'm in, just in case you guys have not gotten this reminder already from your ELA teachers on Thursday and Friday, is that we're asking students to log into the homeroom, which is up on the screen right now, and you should go into that red folder, the Student Support Services folder, and enter the information that they're asking you to enter if you haven't done it yet. Make sure you do it by today. Today is the last day that they're trying to capture that information. So again, here on this page in the homeroom, this red folder here has some important information that they would like you to complete. So do make sure that you guys are trying to capture that information in this doc. And yeah, and that's it. Okay, those are all the announcements. We have a full week this week, so no changes on the schedule for this week. So let's get into it. All right, so the next thing that's up is, oh, let's go back, I guess, to our PowerPoint quickly so that we can answer this question here about what is an ordered pair. So both with the pre-assessment that you guys just did, and whenever I ask you guys a question, I'm not looking for an official answer. So you should never be using outside resources, especially on a pre-assessment, right? That's like idea is that it's supposed to perform like a quiz or like a real assessment. So you should not be using any outside resources. That means that I don't need you to Google an answer and get a specific answer from Google, right? I just want you to tell me what you know. And if you don't know, you don't know. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with not knowing. What I don't want is a Googled answer that you then don't understand, right? Like, oh, great, I got this answer from Google. Awesome, but do you understand what it means, right? Like, is that helpful? So always make sure that when you're answering these questions in both your pre-assessment and any questions that I put up here on the PowerPoint slide, for instance, that you're not Googling an answer. A Googled answer is not something that you know, right? The idea is that you should only be sharing information that you know. If you don't know, you don't know. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to teach you things. But if you're just Googling answers, you're not learning anything. All right, so make sure that you're not just Googling an answer. All right, but okay, so an ordered pair, let me just make this a little bit bigger. An ordered pair is going to be how we relate the location of a point. All right, so an ordered pair tells us the location of a point. On a graph, or another word that we use for a graph is a coordinate plane. And an ordered pair is something that you will find listed in parentheses with a comma separating the 2 points. And the points represent the location on the x-axis and then on the y-axis. Okay, so that's the location according to each axis. So if I have something that says -1, comma, +5, it means that I have to go to the left by 1 because the x-axis is horizontal. So it defines if I'm moving to the left or to the right. I'm going to the left by 1. And then 5 says I'm going up by 5 because the y-axis is vertical. So that means I'm going to go up along that axis by 5 steps. All right, so I'm going to go to the left by 1 and then up by 5 and then put my dot there. That tells me the location of that point, and that's what we use an ordered pair for. So a couple weeks ago, because last week was our midterm week, so we didn't learn anything new. but a couple of weeks ago, we were working on tables. And so now we're going to use tables, and the idea of tables, we're still going to be building that. We're going to take tables and now translate how we use tables into turning tables into a graph, okay? So that's what we're going to be working on this week. So this week is our intro to graphing, and we're using our knowledge of tables to help us with that, all right? And so that's your first little definition there of an ordered pair. We're going to have more notes today, but an ordered pair is where we're going to start. Okay, let's go over your midterm, because that's important. Your midterms were, in general, okay. I do hope that you guys understand that the reason that you guys were given a midterm was not to torture you, but to remind you that when this course is over in, about 3 weeks, you're going to be tested, right? You're going to have to take the CASAS test again, with the idea that you've made an improvement, right? And then for those of you who are trying to get into NEDP, of course, the idea is that you're going to then translate a good score into getting into the NEDP program, right? So I hope that you guys are preparing yourselves for that CASAS test, and for getting ready to do amazingly well on the CASAS, right? I know that's what you guys are all doing. So I don't even know why.
No pressure. Thanks, Mr. G.
I'm sorry?
I said no pressure. Thanks, Mr. G.
No pressure, no pressure. But that was the whole idea of the midterm, right? To remind you guys that you might have some studying to do, right? So use the time whenever you have any downtime. Some of us don't have any downtime, which I understand, right? Like kids, family, whatever, a lot of things are going on. But if you have any downtime at all, or if you can just escape for a while, I know the last thing you want to do on your escape is math, but maybe you need to start using some of your escape time for math. Okay,
Absolutely.
all right, so the midterm, I'm gonna just go over some of these questions here. Actually, let's not do it that way. Do that either. Okay, let's do it by question. Perfect. Okay. We're not going to go in order. We're just going to go by question. All right. So it says, you put $200 in a savings account. The account earns 6% simple interest. What is the balance after 3 years? So the biggest thing here is that the question is asking for the balance. And a lot of you gave me the interest, but you did not give me the balance. So while this formula says I is equal to PRT, which gives me the interest, in order to get the balance, I need to add the interest to the principal. So don't forget that part, okay? If I'm looking for the balance is the interest plus the principal. All right, so let's do this question here. So I is equal to PRT. So I'm looking for my I, right? I have to try to find I, and it's equal to the principal. What's the principal? Which one of these numbers is going to be the principal? 200, 6%, 3 years.
That by way it'll be 200. 200.
200 is your principal. Good. What's my rate? What's my R?
Oh, it rated me like 6%. But you take that
Good.
to 0.06.
Good. I got to change that to 0.06. That's the other important part. Remember that when we're changing a percent to a decimal, we have to go 2 times to the left. 1, 2, so this becomes 0.06. All right, and then my time, of course, always has to be in years. So I have to do 3 years. So I have to put my 3 here. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply this all out. I'm going to have 600 times 0.06. That's going to give me $36. Okay, that $36 again is just my interest. It is not the answer. The answer says balance. To find the balance is equal to the principal plus the interest. So I have to do 200 plus 36. The answer that I was looking for was $236. All right. Any questions about that? All right, this was the question that folks did the worst on the exam. Mostly because probably people did 36, they just didn't give me 236.
I think I did I think I put a little more than that. So I was definitely confused. I think I had the right concept. Well, not the right concept because I got it wrong, but I don't know. I think I was thinking about it, trying to think about it the right way, but I still just end up getting it wrong. I think I overthought it.
Right. That also happens. That definitely also happens. I think also somebody did it and then subtracted the 36. And I was like, wait, why? Why did we subtract? I don't remember who did, but someone subtracted the 36. I was like, it's so good. And then they subtracted. I was like, wait, why did we subtract? So remember that a balance is going to be addition, not subtraction. Okay, let's keep going to the next question. All right, this one's a little small. Let me see if I can zoom in. All right, it says a store is selling all dishwashers for 35% off their original prices. A customer selects a dishwasher originally priced at $600. 5% sales tax adds to the sale price. What is the total cost of the dishwasher after the sales tax is added? So we have to do 2 things here. This is the 2-step problem, right? Well, not 2 steps, but we have 2 concepts that we have to do first. We have to apply the discount, and then after we apply the discount, apply the sales tax, right? And this was a pretty challenging question. And so people didn't get it completely correct. So we're gonna go over what we need to do here. So our first step is gonna be to apply the discount. So I have to take my $600 and I'm gonna multiply it by the decimal version of 35%. So I'm going to do 600 times 0.35. Okay, that's going to give me 3,000 there. And 18 here. I'm going to add that up. And it's going to give me $210. That $210 is my discount. All right, so I have to take this discount, this $210 that I just found, and subtract it from my 600. It's a many-step problem. So 600 minus 210. That's going to give me 390. Oops. 5, sorry, 390. Knew it was 390, but I wrote the wrong number. Okay, so $390 now is the sale price of this dishwasher. All right, so when I add my tax, I could probably already eliminate these 2 answers. I can't, it won't make the price go down. So it's definitely this price or this price. All right, so I have $390 that I now need to add 5% sales tax to. So I take the 390 and I'm going to multiply it by the decimal version of 5%. It's going to be times 0.05. So I have $19.50, which is my sales tax. And I always add tax to my price. So I have to now take the 390 and add 1950 to it. And I'm going to get 409.50. All right, so that is your answer. So 1, 2, 3, 4 steps.
Mr. G,
Yes.
so when you're taking, for instance, the COSTA test, how do you know that this is the process that you need to use, that you're supposed to do all 4 of these steps, or even like the question before, how do you know that that's the procedure you're supposed to use?
All right, so we'll start here with this one, right? But there's only one way to apply a discount, and there's really only one way to apply tax. And it just happens to be that in this question, you have to do both. And so they're just asking you to do things that you should recognize here, which is, how do I apply a discount, right? And when you're thinking about applying a discount, you have to take the discount percent, multiply it to the price, and then subtract that discount that you get. How do you apply a tax? You take the price, multiply it to the percent of the tax, and then add it to the price. They're just asking you in this question to combine both things, right? So it's a little bit more complicated. This is more complicated than you would have to do on the COSTA. You usually have to do one or the other, but both concepts would be something that you are familiar with. How to apply a discount and how to apply a tax, right? So we'll start there with that one. And then in the previous question.
Well, because like in the previous questions, you had the formula I equals PRT. Will that be on the test if that's the procedure we're supposed to use? Will it say?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, okay, I got it.
Yeah, so it's never going to be out of left field. There's gonna be context there.
Okay, I got it.
All right, let's try this next one. All right, so Enrique took his family out for dinner. He planned to leave a 15% gratuity on the bill. What is the total cost if the bill was $123.50? I will be honest that this one was a little bit of an unfair question, but not completely, because a lot of you almost got it right, but you just rounded incorrectly.
Okay, this one was kind of a trick question because it said he took his family out to dinner. They never said how many people he had with him.
So that doesn't matter, right? Because the total cost of the bill is $123.50. So everybody together, however many people it is, 4, 5, 2, the whole bill is $123.50. But he has to pay 15% tip on the bill. And so what you need to do is figure out how to add that tip. And you add tip the same way you add tax. So you take the $123.50, multiply it by the decimal version of 15%, and then add them together. But the correct answer is $140.03. And many people put $140.02 because they rounded incorrectly. And so we have to be very careful when we're rounding. And so I'm going to show you guys the procedure on why that one was incorrect. So we have 123.50. We're going to multiply it, just like we did the last one, by the decimal version of the percent. All right, we're going to get this is 0. 5, 3, 2, 1. Add it all up. I have 4 decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I'm going to end up with 1852, right? What's the number after 2? It's a 5, which means I have to round this up to a 3. This was the danger point right here. This is where everybody made their mistake. So I have to take this now, 1853. That's what I need to round this to. I take my 1853 and I add it to the 123.50. And that's how I'm going to get my 142.03. All right, so pay very close attention to your rounding. Also, whenever you see two options that are only a penny apart, check your rounding, right? Because there's a reason that they're only a penny apart, right? They're trying to tell you something. They're trying to make you look and see if you rounded correctly, okay? So the correct answer was 142.03. I think most people chose 142.02. So that means the procedure was correct in your mind, which is great, but make sure that you are paying attention to the rounding. All right, let's move on. The following is in order from least to greatest. I gave you a percent, gave you a fraction, and I gave you a decimal. The easiest thing, in my opinion, to do to compare them is to turn them all into decimals. Why? Because the last one is already a decimal, first of all, right? And that's nice and easy. So I get to keep my 0.52. To turn this percent into a decimal, I just move it 2 places to the left. So I have 0.40. And then 4/9, to turn that into a decimal, I just divide the 9 into the 4, which I can't do. So I have to add a 0. How many times does 9 go into 40? 9 goes into 40 4 times, excuse me. Whew. So I'm already thinking ahead to my 36, right? I have 4 left over. I have to add another 0, bring that down. 9 goes into 40 again 4 times. So I have 0.44. I don't have to even finish because I know that they are in order from least to greatest. So the answer is true. So you had just a little bit of math to do. And that little bit of math was remembering how to turn a fraction into a decimal. All right, so if you did that division, you would get 0.44. 0.44 is bigger than 0.40, but smaller than 0.52. So they are in order from least to greatest. Questions about that one? Are you mad you got it wrong if you got it wrong? I don't know if anybody got it wrong. I just saying. Okay. Next one. All right, so this one was from our one of our practices that we did, I think, back in week 3. It was a challenging question then. It continues to be a challenging question now because we are thinking about integers and to think about them in the correct way. So a mountain climber ascends, goes up 800 feet per hour from his original position. After 6 hours, his final position is 11,600 feet above sea level. Find the climber's original position. So if he's doing 800 feet for 6 hours, the first thing I should do is that multiplication, right? 800 times 6, which gives me 4,800. If this is his final position and I want to find his original position, I should subtract this number from 11,600, right? And that's how you get 6,800 as your answer. So we have to multiply and then subtract. Step 1.
This is the only thing in math that's so confusing to me. Like, not just this problem alone, but it's just the formula of things. Like, it's so many different formulas in math. And if you're not like familiar with it, it will confuse you.
Yeah, so what?
Yes, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think that math comes down to
yeah, I agree with everybody. Actually, I'm agreeing with everybody when they say, because even the first time when I did that part, I got the wrong answer, the 3,093. The only thing I didn't find out the 800,000 because he said the final climber original position first. So then I think I maybe that had reason how I got that answer then for the second time, but the first time I got the wrong answer.
Yeah, so always remember that a lot of math comes down to vocabulary, right? And that's why it's so important that, you know, a lot of people ask, why don't we do our subjects separately, right? Like, I want to focus only on math. I want to focus only on reading. And that never really works for a lot of people because the idea here is that you need to be developing your skills at the same time. What you have to recognize here is what is being said in this word problem, right? He is moving 800 feet per hour, and then he moves for 6 hours. That should automatically tell you, what do I have to do? I have to multiply to figure out how far he's moved. 800 feet per hour for 6 hours tells me I need to multiply, right? If you don't see that immediate indication that it's multiplication, is because you haven't worked with enough word problems to just have that feel down, right? But if I'm being told a speed and a certain number of hours, that means I need to do multiplication, right? And then this final part is understanding that because this 11,600 is his final position, and I'm looking for the original position, then I have to do the subtraction here, right? This is the tougher part to me, is the second half, not the first half. The first half is intuition, like you should see it and do it. Here is about your language skills, right? And you really have to understand that final means last, right? And if I'm looking for the first position, I then have to subtract, right? That's all about language. And so this is why it's so important to do both subjects, your math and your reading together. By doing more reading, by exposing yourself more to the language, you help with your math, right? It doesn't always seem like that's the case, but without your reading skills, your math skills will suffer. Because you need both. You definitely need both. All right, let's keep moving. Surprising, you guys did very well with this question. Okay, so 150 grams of fertilizer is required for a land area of 6 miles. At this rate, how many grams of fertilizer is required for a land area of 13 miles? What do we have to do to find the answer to this question?
Multiply.
What am I multiplying?
150 grams times 6 square miles.
So this is
or 13 square miles
So this is how much I need for 6 square miles, right? This is what it's
Wow.
telling me. I need
I was
this
saying
for
that-
that.
I was thinking you have to try 25 times 13. That mean
Why did you do 25 times? Where did you get 25 from?
25. Okay, then. Okay, so the reason why I did it, just the last time I checked, I do 350 over 15 over 6. I had to find over 6. So what I do, I 20.
Okay, good. So again,
Oh, wait. So,
our language skills,
Yep.
right? This word rate. If I have a rate, I really have 2 options here, but as Marvin just suggested, I should probably divide.
Yeah.
150 grams of fertilizer over 6 square miles. So how much do I need for every square mile? So he did 150 divided by 6.
Mhm. Right.
That gives him 25. So
Right.
25 grams of fertilizer for every square mile. How much am I going to need for 13 square miles? I am going to end up multiplying. I'm going to end up multiplying this 25 times
Yeah.
13. That's going to give me my answer.
Mm-hmm.
325 grams of fertilizer. All right, so that's one way to do it. That way to do it is great. It's perfect. It works, right? The other thing I want you guys to see is that this is a proportion. And if you remember how to do your proportional reasoning and try to keep that into your head, you'll be able to set up rates all the time. So I have 150 grams for every 6 miles. How many do I get for 13 miles? Cross multiply. Okay, so 6x is equal to 150 times 13, which I don't know off the top of my head. So let me just go ahead and do it.
I'll do when you do that for it'll be not. So
that's equal to 1950. And when I divide that by 6, then I'm going to get my 325.
Okay, yeah, no.
Either way, you're going to end up with your 325. So either, hey, what is a rate, right? A rate means that I have 150 grams for every 6 square miles. That's my rate. If I'm using that same rate, right, then I need to divide it out, figure out how much I get for 1, what's my unit rate, and multiply it by 13. But I recommend proportional reasoning. It's going to be very helpful to you, right? Proportions will help you get very far. But you guys did great on this question in general, actually. I think of the people who took the midterm, again, this was like the 6th worst question, but in general, it wasn't bad. Most people did pretty well on this question. Eventually, because you guys did get to take it twice. So maybe at first it was a little off. But... All right, we're going to go to number 7. Or the 7th question. This was rough, y'all. This one was rough. List the decimals in order from least to greatest. Wow. Why was this so hard? What happened?
I was gonna say someone kicking our ass. That's what I mean. That's what I'm gonna do. But then when you're trying to list the order,
so hard, y'all. Why?
well, as I just said again, that's just kicking our ass. That's all I can say.
It's so this is the order from least to greatest. Why is this the order from least to greatest? Because up until here, all of the numbers are the exact same, right? Then you get to this number here, which is just a 4. This 4, these two that are 4s are obviously less than this one that's a 5. So this one has to be the biggest, right? Then you have to decide between these two, which are also 4s, but this 4 is followed by a 5, which makes this number bigger than that number, but smaller than this number. I think this is where people got the most confused. Remember, it's not the number of numbers. It is the value in the place. So 4 is less than 5. This 5 has to be bigger. It doesn't matter that there's a 5 after that number. 5 is bigger than 4. That is all that matters. You have to compare place to place when we're looking at order of decimals. All right. So this number is bigger than that number. This is the correct order from least to greatest.
Mr. G, every time you put a question like this on an assignment, I always get it wrong. And that's because I always count the place values, because I always look at the 0.8445 as because that would be, see, hundreds, thousands. I go by the place value of the numbers. Every time I always get this question wrong.
Nope, 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 right? So basically what you're saying to me is that 0.6 is smaller than 0.06. That's what you're saying to me?
Yes.
Is it?
Well, because the 6 is in the 10th place, but the 0.6 is in the 100th place. So 10 is smaller than 100.
No. This is bigger than that, right? Because when we're going away from the decimal, right, we are getting smaller, not bigger.
Okay.
So when we're thinking about order, right, and we're thinking about, let's use money, for instance, right? If I have $100, right, this is bigger than $1, obviously, right? Because that 1 is now moving further away from the decimal, which is a good thing. But after the decimal, when I go to the right of my decimal, I am getting smaller. So as this 1 moves from the left of the decimal to the right of the decimal, right? This is $1, this is a penny, right? As it goes further away from the decimal, it gets smaller. Again, if I keep going even further away from the decimal, now I have less than a penny. I have 100th of a penny. Like I can't even buy anything. Well, I can buy anything with this, but I can't buy anything. Like that's not even real money. They'll just look at me and be like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Okay.
Okay. So as I get further away from my decimal to the right, I am getting smaller.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
All right. So this is a place value issue. Before the decimal, as I move further to the left, I'm getting bigger. But as I move further to the right, I'm getting smaller from the decimal.
Okay.
It's not like a paycheck when I'm adding a 0 at the end, right? Like I don't want to make $100. I want to make $1,000. It's not like that. It is actually when after I put a decimal in, I am actually making my life much smaller, right? And now I had 1,000, now I'm down to 10, now I'm down to 1, right? As the decimal moves to the left, the decimal makes my number smaller.
Okay.
All right. Number 8. All right, a machine can pack 70 boxes of spaghetti in 5 minutes. At this rate, how many boxes of spaghetti can it pack in 8 minutes? This question was supposedly easier than the last question. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Okay, so again, this is another proportion or rate question. So what do I need to do? What are my options? I see the word rate. Every time I see the word rate, I should do just this. I should circle it, highlight it, tell myself that, oh, it's a rate. Now I have to remember what Mr. G told me about rates. So what do we do with a rate?
Is it multiplication?
There is going to be multiplication involved. Yes. I have two options. What were the two options we just discussed with the question about 2 steps back? When we had another rate.
You said set it up as a proportion?
Good. I can set it up as a proportion. So I do 70 boxes in 5 minutes. And the question is, how many boxes, so X, can I do in 8 minutes? Right? That's going to allow me to cross multiply. So 5 times X is going to give me 5X. 70 times 8 is going to give me 560. Remember, because all I need to do is 7 times 8 and then add the 0 back on. Now I just have to divide both sides by 5 to give me my answer. 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 goes into 6 one time with a 1 as my remainder. Bring down my 0. 5 goes into 10 2 times. So I can do 112 boxes at this rate. Okay, so that's my first option. I can set up a proportion. You can solve a rate with a proportion. My other option is to find the unit rate. And I do that by dividing the 70 by the 5. So how many times does 5 go into 70? It goes in 14 times. So now I just multiply 14, because that's how many boxes I can do in 1 minute, times 8. Either way, I'm going to end up with the same answer as 112. And either way, I have to do division and multiplication. Okay, either way I set this up, I have to do division and multiplication. I have to do both things to get my answer. All right, let's try number 9. All right, a scientist is measuring the temperature change in a chemical compound. The temperature dropped 11 degrees Fahrenheit per hour from the original temperature. After 4 hours, the temperature was 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Find the compound's original temperature. So what's happening here? What's happening to my temperature?
Dropping.
Okay, it's dropping. How fast is it dropping?
It's dropping 11 degrees per hour,
Okay,
11 degrees Fahrenheit per hour
okay. And for how many hours is it doing that?
for 4 hours.
So what does that mean?
Divide
11 per hour. I'm going to divide it by
Multiply.
4.
Oh, okay. You're gonna multiply it by 4. Okay.
Okay. So that's going to tell me how much it dropped. So what's 11 times 4?
44.
More.
44. And how do I represent a drop?
It's a minus.
Good. All right. So it's dropped 44 degrees, right? And the new temperature is now 90 degrees. So I have to figure out what the original temperature was. So it's asking me what minus 44 equals 90. So that means I have to take my 90 and add it to 44.
Oh, okay.
19. So then, oh, I didn't. Oh, and then you add it, so you add it.
So this is how you have to think about it. You have to think about it. If I'm looking for the original temperature, I need to figure out what minus 44 gave me 90. And then that way I can think about it by adding 44. It's going to give me my answer, right? It's going to cancel out here. And then X is going to be equal to 134. Right. One of the things that I know that a lot of your English teachers teach you, right, is to annotate when you're reading, right? The same thing goes for your math problems. Annotate things that you think are going to be important. This is dropping. I need to indicate that it's dropping in somehow. Do I need to put a down arrow and put a minus sign, whatever it is, to remind me that the temperature is dropping, okay? All right, 11 degrees per hour. Per hour is important. I can't just circle the 11 degrees. I need to make sure I also highlight the fact that it's per hour, because that indicates to me that I need to multiply. I don't know what I need to multiply it by yet, but I know that I'm going to have to multiply because it says per hour. Now, after reading, it says 4 hours. Oh, great. Now I just figured out what I'm multiplying this 11 by. It has to be multiplied by 4. Okay. Annotate your word problems until you get used to reading them and getting them correct. There's nothing wrong with annotating your word problems, right? It's not going to take any points away from you. So do annotate them if you need to. The other thing here at the end, it says find the compound's original temperature. That means I need to be working a little bit backwards, right? I know that it's dropped by 44 degrees, right? So to go back the other way, I have to do the opposite of what's happening. It has dropped by 44 degrees, so that means I'm going to have to end up adding 44 to my 90. All right, let's go to the next one. All right. How do you turn a percent into a decimal?
You move it 2 places to the left.
That's it. So take the decimal sign off, go 2 places to the left, you get this. All right, that one is straightforward. All right. What makes a number rational and what makes a number irrational? Rational means,
It can be written as a fraction.
that's it. Irrational means that it cannot be written as a fraction. That's it, that's all. So if I'm looking at a fraction, is that fraction rational or irrational?
Rational.
That's all. This is another gimme question, right? It doesn't matter that it's negative. The question is it rational or irrational? If I'm looking at a fraction, it has to be rational, right? If I'm also looking at a whole number is also rational because I can write it over 1. Okay. The only time that you should question whether or not a number is a rational number is sometimes when you see a decimal. Then you might be like, oh, I don't know if it's a rational number. Can I write it as a fraction? But any whole number, any fraction has to be rational. Right. All right, write a number that is an integer but not whole. Number that is an integer but not whole. What's the difference between an integer and a whole number? They're pretty close, but what makes an integer different from a whole number? What does an integer include that a whole number does not? A whole number is any number from 0 to infinity, right? So that includes 0, 1, 2, 12, right? Any number that is not a fraction or a decimal, but whole from 0 to infinity, right? An integer is the same, but it also includes negative numbers. That's the
So basically,
thing.
just go back from 0 all the way and beyond on the left, on the right.
So
Oh.
anything from negative to positive infinity that is a whole number. So no decimals, no fractions. So an example of a number that's an integer but not a whole number would be -3 or -29 or even just -1.
Can it be -7 too?
Yep.
So basically, just go negative 0 all the way to negative infinity.
Not 0.
Well, I mean, no, I mean, like I said, from 0, we go all the way further down to the negative side of it.
So from -1 to
Yeah.
any other negative number, yes,
Right.
that is whole. Just not a fraction, not a decimal. Any whole negative number would be a number that is an integer, but not a whole number. Okay. Which fraction is larger, 3/5 or 1/3? How do I compare fractions?
Graph?
You said graph?
I didn't mean to say that.
I mean, I could draw them if I wanted to. Yeah, I guess I could.
I think that's how I did it. I don't know if I got it right. I can't remember if I got it right or wrong, but I think that's how I did it because I know that anything on the number line that's furthest further to the left,
Oh, okay.
bigger fraction or one of them. Sorry, Mr. G.
It's fine. The method that I recommend
Oh,
is cross multiplication, right? If you go from the bottom to the top for either one, it'll tell you the value. So 5 times 1 will give you the value of the fraction on the right, which is 5. 3 times 3 gives you the value of the fraction on the left, which is 9. Which number is bigger? 9 is bigger. That means 3/5 is the larger fraction.
Oh my goodness, Mr. G. You know what?
Don't forget how to compare fractions.
I know, and it's like I still get that anxiety when I'm doing math. Like I know you teaching us the right way, but it's like I still get anxiety sometimes. So I think I knew I know this operation, but I don't think I used it during that time. I really don't.
This is the easiest way to compare fractions, guys. So don't forget it, because it's just gonna, it makes your life so much easier, right? When you can look at a question and be like, oh, I can just compare them doing this. Don't forget it. It's gonna be very helpful to you, okay? And also, like I said before, always, 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 because like we're gonna keep moving. I have a lot of things that I have to teach you. There's a lot of things on that CASAS test, right? Take some time, step back, review, right? Go over your notes. That's why I make you guys turn these notes in, not because like I'm, some evil person. I want to make sure that you have something you can go back and look at, right? So look at your notes, look at the work that you've already done, and see if you remember it, right? Because that's going to be the hardest challenge. Like, because in the moment, you guys are like, oh yeah, I can do this, go right through it. Then it comes up again, you're like, I don't know what this is. I've never seen this before. He didn't teach us this, right? And then you're just like, oh, right, he did. But I just didn't remember, right? So review, review, review. It's going to be very helpful because I know all of this already, y'all. Right? So I want to make sure you guys know it too. That's the whole point of this. All right. Let's keep going. Let's try the next one. All right. Most of you guys did well with this one. If I multiply 4 negative numbers together, the product will be
Negative.
positive.
Oh,
If I multiply 3 negative numbers together, the product will be negative, right? If it's even, because they cancel each other out, right? Negative times a negative gives me a positive. So negative times a negative times a negative times a negative means that I have an even number of negatives, so they are going to cancel each other out. So the answer is going to be positive.
okay.
A negative times a negative times a negative, when I only have 3, that means there's only 2 to cancel each other out, and then there's 1 left over, so my answer is going to be negative. So whenever you have an odd amount of numbers that you're multiplying together and they're all negative, you're always going to have a negative answer. If it's even, you're always going to have a positive answer.
Okay, now I got that. I could not figure that out. And I went back to my notes and I still couldn't figure it out.
It's in one of our exercises. It's in the exit ticket for that week, actually.
Yeah.
That's where you have to answer that question. Okay. All right, so Adam earns $36 for every 4 hours of work. How long will it take him to earn $144? I got some very weird answers for this one, and I'm not sure why, but he earns $36 for every 4 hours of work. So there's a couple of things you could do. Some people did some interesting math, like they divided 144 by 36, which is great. I saw that. The only problem is that that's going to give you 4, and you did that, and I can see you did it in your calculation because you wrote it out. And I was like, 144 divided by 36 gives me 4, and so your answer was 4. And I was like, no, but the answer isn't 4, right? Because he has to do 4 hours of work 4 times, so it's 4 times 4, which is 16. But the easiest way to do it is to figure out how much he makes per hour. So if he makes $36 for every 4 hours of work, how much is he making per hour?
$9.
$9 an hour, right? And you're trying to figure out how long it's going to take him to make $144. So you take the 144 and divide it by 9, all right? And that's going to give you 16 hours. Okay, so 16 was your answer. Those of you, I think, who put in 4, I think I gave you partial credit because I saw what you were thinking there, because you divided 144 by 36 and you got 4. But the question was, how long will it take him to earn $144? So it's not 4 hours, right? Because 4 hours only gives him 36. It's 4 times 4, which means 16. But I do appreciate the roundabout thinking you guys did there. That's some good processing. I like that processing, even if it was incorrect. I like the processing. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's try 16. All right, this was just a subtraction problem. I don't think anybody really got this one wrong. 1.74 plus a negative 1.2 just means I have to subtract this 1.2 from the 1.74. So it's just minus 1.2. And most of you got this right. That's just 0.54. Okay, that was pretty straightforward. Oh, you guys did so well with just the straight up percents. That was good too. I was very happy. So 23% of 75 is what number? You just do 75 times 0.23. And I have 2 decimal places. So my answer is just 17.25. You guys did very well with this one. I was very happy. You guys know how to do straight up percents. Straight up percents are just multiplication. All right, just 3 more questions to look at. All right, number 18, a ticket taker makes $100 every 5 hours. How much do they make per hour? This is a simple division question, and you guys got it right as 20. 100 divided by 5 is going to give you $20 per hour. All right, writing this rate as a unit rate. Most people got this right as long as they kept it in order. Whenever you find a unit rate, you're just dividing the first number by the second number. So you did 9 into 162. Right, which is going to give you 18. Right, you notice there are 2 18 answers. And you just have to keep your units in order. So if I'm dividing 162 by 9, I'm going to get 18 bottles, because that's my first unit, per case. So this was the correct answer, and this was the incorrect answer. Just make sure you always keep your units correct, right? This was more about making sure you chose the right units. So it's 18 bottles per case was the correct answer. All right, and the last question. Our favorite little working with our negative numbers. If I have 2 negatives in a row, I essentially just treat it as 2 positives. So I'm just going to add -3 plus 6. It's going to give me a +3. And most of you got that right as well. All right, so the whole day was spent today going over your midterm, but I think that was important because I want you guys to Remember the strategies that we've tried to learn this term. If any of those strategies were confusing to you or you didn't remember them, always make sure to go over them, right? You can go over them. That's why the information is going to stay in your Schoology course, always labeled with the correct information as to what the skill is. So if you go back, right, to your home page, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. We have all the weeks of all the work that we've done, right? And every week is labeled with the topic that we've gone over. So weeks 1 to 3, number system, adding and subtracting integers, multiplying and dividing integers. 4 to 6, comparing rational numbers, percents, rates, and simple interest. Right? Everything is labeled. You can go back and review it and help yourself continue your learning, right? And so we didn't get a chance to do our notes for today. But what I would like you guys to do is at some point today, and again, remember at 1 o'clock, you guys have the town hall. So please attend the town hall. You don't have to do any afternoon work. What I would like everyone to do today is go in and try to do the discussion question and answer this question that's written here. How do I relate tables to graphs? Okay. And we'll discuss this on Wednesday and also complete our notes.
Yeah.
Next week, we only have class on Monday because next week is Thanksgiving. So we're not going to be doing anything new on Monday. Monday will be a continuation of this week anyway. So we have enough time to get all this week's work done. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So make sure you attend the town hall at 1 o'clock, and I will see everyone on Wednesday.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. G. See you later.
Have a good one.
Thank
I-
you.
I see.
Yep. See ya.
I see the town